Liz, it's audit reporting season again. What's changed with audit reports?
2017 is a very exciting year for auditors. There is a new style audit report that has come out. It takes effect this year. For every single audit report, the most obvious difference is going to be that the audit opinion is now at the top of the audit. So it's the first thing that anyone's going to read about the audit. So there's the audit opinion first, and then it's followed by the basis of opinion, which explains what the auditor has looked at, the financial reports that have been reviewed. The second thing that's happening in every audit report is that there's changed wording and clearer explanations of what's happening. So there are clearer explanations of the director's responsibilities or the management. There's clearer explanation of what the auditor is doing and their responsibilities in relation to the financial statements. And there's additional wording and sections possibly relating to going concern or other information if those are relevant to that particular entity. There's increased information about the independence of the auditor and the ethical standards that they follow. And finally, the headings of the paragraphs are going to be more clearly highlighted, so it's easier to navigate around and see what's actually included in the audit report. The third thing which is happening in relation to the audit reports this year is for audit reports of listed entities. And for those, there is a new section now called Key Audit Matters. What's happening here is the auditor will highlight those areas that they spent most of their time or a lot of audit effort on during that particular year for that audit, and they'll be putting some commentary in the audit report about that. So the commentary will be to explain what they looked at and why, and then it will also include some commentary about what the audit procedures were during that year. So it will give a lot more explanation of what the audit actually looked at and what they did for that particular company for that particular year.
So, does this mean the auditor's doing different work?
That's interesting. So anytime there's more public reporting or you're saying something explicitly in the public, there will also always be a relook at what your procedures are and the work that goes around to get that out. So there will be some more work just purely relating to the reporting elements changing. However, there are actually changes to two other standards, the going concern standard and the other information auditing standards, which do require further work by the auditor. So in the going concern area, for example, the auditor will be doing additional procedures looking at the disclosures that the company is making about their going concern basis of accounting decisions in their financial statements. So there will be a little bit more extra work there. In relation to other information, if the entity decides to put other information, say in an annual report, like a director's report or a chairman's report or anything else around those areas, the auditor will now read that other information. Now, they always had the duty to read it, but now the procedures that they have to do are a little clearer and have been changed slightly. So they'll be reading that to see whether any of the information in that other information is materially inconsistent or has a material misstatement based on the financial statements. So they'll be checking it back to the financial statements.
Okay, well, let's look at the flip side. What does all that mean for me when reading the auditor's report?
When you're reading the audit report, I think you'll find it's much easier to read and much clearer. You're getting further information. So if for the non-listed entities, you go straight to the front there and you'll see exactly what the opinion is, whether it's a clean opinion or whether there's some kind of modification. When you look at the basis of accounting, basis for the opinion, which is the second point, you'll be able to see very clearly the basis that the entity prepared their accounts on. For example, are they general purpose or special purpose? All there right up front. If there is any issue with a going concern, it will be very clearly highlighted. There's a separate section that says material uncertainty in relation to the going concern basis of accounting. And so you can go straight there and see if there is an issue or whether there's something else going on there. And again, of course, if it's a listed entity or if the entity is voluntarily choosing to include key audit matters, you have a lot more information. You can see where it was that the auditor thought was most important to focus their attention. And then you can also see what kind of procedures and what kind of work the auditor did to address that particular position.
Well, Liz, to wrap up, is there anything else I need to know about this audit season?
2017 is a great year for reading audit reports. If you haven't read an audit report for a while, this is the year to pick them up and start doing it. For key audit matters, there's going to be over 2,000 reports which will have key audit matters in them based on the size of the listed company market here. Each of those, every single one is going to be different and unique. What is picked up by the auditor in relation to that company for that year's audit will be different for everyone. And what it will explain quite clearly is where the auditor spent some audit effort and the kinds of work that they did. So it's going to give a great view both for our markets and for the audit work that's done around that. For the other reports, there's a few changes there as well. The opinion and the basis of opinion, as I said, are the first two things you'll read, but thereafter, the reports can change. The ordering of the paragraphs can move around a bit. There might be a going concern paragraph, or there might not, depending on the entity. Similarly, for other information, you might see some text about that, or you might not. The auditor's responsibilities as well are going to be different because the auditor's responsibilities are based on that particular company. So if that company is part of a group, the auditor's responsibilities will be slightly different if the company was a single entity. So that will be changed wording and different as well. One thing which is very new this year, which we haven't had before, is that those auditors' responsibilities can either be in the full text of the audit report, or the auditor can refer to the Australian Auditing and Assurance Standards Board website. And that's the first time they've been able to make a reference somewhere else. So that's going to be interesting too. The final point, I guess, as well as the very exciting point that they're all going to be different, is that they're probably going to be slightly longer. You'll probably see longer audit reports this year. The clarity of the wording alone will make some of that a bit longer. So it's a great year. We're going to have some fascinating information come out, very relevant to the entities. So I hope you enjoy reading them all.
Liz, thanks very much.
Thank you.